She just forgot her keys. 3 weeks later, a stroke, and no one saw it coming. Margaret, 72 years old, lived in a small town in Ohio. She used to be an elementary school teacher, a woman who loved books, loved children, and had a memory sharp as a razor. But then, within just a month, everything began to change in a way no one expected. First, Margaret forgot where she put her keys. Then she missed her eye doctor appointment. One day, while chatting with her granddaughter, she froze, unable to recall the name of the neighborhood child who visited every afternoon. The family wasn't too worried. "She's old, who doesn't get forgetful sometimes," they said. No one realized that, little by little, Margaret's memory was unraveling like a thread slipping from a sleeve. 3 weeks later, on a Saturday morning, while peeling an apple in the kitchen, Margaret suddenly froze. Her hand dropped the knife, her face twisted to one side, her eyes stared blankly into space. The stroke hit silent and cruel. What shocked me, as a neurologist, wasn't the stroke itself. It was the warning signs that had already shown up so clearly, but no one paid attention. There were no alarms. No pain. Just the quiet of a brain slowly weakening and a woman who still thought she was just forgetting because of age. Margaret's story is not an exception. It is a wake-up call for millions of older adults. So, what exactly was happening inside her brain, and could it be happening right now to you or someone you love, without anyone realizing? It's not aging, it's a silent cry for help from inside your brain. When an older adult starts forgetting little things, most people smile, shrug, and say, "It's just age." But brain science tells us a different and far more alarming truth. Memory doesn't just fade with time. It fades when the brain no longer gets enough blood and oxygen to nourish its nerve cells. At that point, parts of the brain begin to quietly die. And the first thing to vanish isn't the ability to walk, or to speak, but memory itself. Imagine the brain as a garden. Blood flow is the water supply. When the water stops reaching the roots, the plants don't fall over immediately. Instead, the leaves start to wilt. The smallest leaves fall first, quietly, silently, without warning. That is memory. Someone like Margaret didn't just age in a normal way. She was losing function in a part of her brain, the region that stores and processes information, because it wasn't getting enough blood. And the dangerous part is, there's no pain to warn you. No dramatic symptom to make you notice. Just more frequent moments of forgetting dates, forgetting words, forgetting directions. Each week. Those small changes are the cries for help. Not loud. Not panicked. Just a soft whisper rising from deep inside the brain, "I need help." But if no one listens, if no one notices in time, that whisper will soon fade away completely, and what comes next could be a stroke that takes your memories away for good. And if you're asking yourself, so how can I catch it early? What's the difference between normal aging memory and a memory warning us about a stroke? Let me tell you about the signs we neurologists always watch for very closely. They just repeated a story, forgot a name. Then stroke came as if out of nowhere. John, 75, living in Florida, still drives himself to get coffee every morning. But in the past 2 weeks, he's been coming back later than usual. Not because of traffic, but because he got lost. Lost on the same road he's driven for the past 30 years. Robert, a 77-year-old veteran in Arizona, used to live by strict routines. Recently, his wife shared that he often leaves the kettle boiling on the stove and forgets to turn it off. Sometimes, he goes to the grocery store but forgets why he went. He comes back empty-handed, his face puzzled as if waking from a strange dream. And Helen, 68, living with her granddaughter in Georgia, used to tell old stories every night. But one evening, the little girl gently asked, "Grandma, didn't you tell that story last night?" Helen gave a soft smile and went quiet. The next day, she told the exact same story again word for word. None of these people thought they were ill. They just thought they were getting older. And their families, like so many others, didn't panic either. Because who doesn't get a little forgetful with age? But the truth is, those forgettings are no longer small things. They are signals. A hidden map tracing the path to a future stroke. When the hippocampus, the brain's short-term memory center, stops working properly due to poor blood flow, the brain starts to react. But it doesn't scream. It whispers. Through wrong word choices. Through mixing up dates. Through repetition. Through forgetting places, names, or why one is doing something. And even more frightening, those signs don't come all at once. They arrive slowly, bit by bit. Like a light bulb flickering, dimming, then going out while the whole room still thinks it's shining. If you notice any of the following signs in your loved one, don't ignore them. Forgetting the names of familiar people, even those seen daily, repeating a story within the same day or week, pausing mid-sentence, unable to find the right word, losing focus during simple tasks, subtle changes in personality, more irritable, sadder, or more withdrawn. Each of these signs is like a new crease on the brain's map. And if that map is changing, it means something is quietly breaking the order within. The biggest issue is, most people don't realize they're changing. And if no one around sees it in time, what comes next could be a loss that can't be undone. So what exactly is waiting behind these signs? Every minute of inattention, millions of brain cells may die without you knowing it. There's something many people don't know, and I didn't know either, that is, when a stroke occurs, our brain loses nearly 2 million cells every minute. It sounds like just another statistic on TV, but the truth is, each one of those minutes could take away your child's name, your voice, or your ability to walk for the rest of your life. I've met patients like that. They didn't fall. There was no warning pain. They just thought they forgot a little. Then suddenly they couldn't speak. Couldn't lift their right arm. Couldn't name the person standing in front of them. All because the brain, the most precious part of the body, had been speaking up for a long time, but no one listened. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it so you will listen. Listen to yourself. Listen to your loved ones. If you notice your father, or even yourself, forgetting simple things like walking into a room and forgetting why, or not knowing what day it is, don't ignore it. You don't need to panic. But you also shouldn't dismiss it. The simplest way is to write down those forgetful moments, track whether they increase. You can use a small calendar, or just jot a few lines each day like, who did I forget today? Did I repeat any stories? Was I more irritable? And if you're the child reading this, please, call home. Ask your mom what she ate today. Ask your dad where he went, who he met. These questions not only reconnect you, they might also give you the first glimpse into something your parents don't realize is happening. We can't stop time, but we can slow the loss. So, you don't have to do anything grand. Start with the little things a good friend would do. Set reminders for medication, take evening walks together, encourage your loved one to read, play brain games, check blood pressure together each morning, laugh and talk more each day. Those small acts are like an umbrella shielding the brain from the heavy rain called stroke. But the most beautiful thing is, no matter how tired the brain is, it can still heal. There is still hope, if we care early and in time. So then, where should we begin? Care for your brain like you care for your heart. 5 small daily habits to keep your memory sharp. We often say, take care of your heart. But there's a place just as fragile and sometimes even more vulnerable, and that's the brain. I used to think that keeping the brain sharp required supplements, intense training, or some complicated regimen. But it turns out, what helps the most are things so small they're often overlooked. No fancy equipment needed. No long prescriptions. Just tiny actions, really small, that you can start today. gently. Like a friend whispering to you, we can do this for ourselves and the ones we love. Memory warm-up every morning, like brushing your brain. Just like brushing your teeth keeps your smile bright, your brain needs a regular wake-up too. Each morning, after waking up and washing your face, pick any 3 words, for example, flower, pen, window. Say the 3 words out loud, then go about your usual routine. 5 minutes later, try to recall those 3 words. This simple habit stimulates the hippocampus, the part of the brain that stores short-term memory. You can change the words daily, or invite a loved one to join you. Many neurologists use this to assess memory early, but you can turn it into a fun little game. And once you've gotten used to brushing your brain every morning, the next habit should follow naturally, checking your blood pressure, like checking the weather before heading out. Check your blood pressure every morning because healthy vessels feed the brain. Without blood, the brain dries out. And when blood pressure fluctuates, the brain is the first to suffer. If you have a blood pressure monitor at home, keep it near your morning water spot. Just 1 minute a day. Measure, record, track. If the numbers jump up and down, don't panic, but schedule a visit with your doctor. No monitor? No problem. Ask a nearby pharmacy to check it a few times a week. That's better than waiting until you feel dizzy, fall, or worse. Face a stroke that comes without warning. Once you're confident blood flow is reaching your brain well, consider what you're putting into that blood every day through your meals. Eat for a brighter brain, not just to feel full. The brain likes things that are light, fresh, and colorful. Berries like blueberries and strawberries great for neurons. Fatty fish like salmon and mackerel provide omega-3s to protect nerve fibers. Avocados, olive oil, dark leafy greens all help fight oxidation and improve blood flow. You don't need to overhaul your entire diet. Just start with one small weekly change, maybe switch regular oil for olive oil, or add a handful of walnuts each night. The body won't change overnight. But your brain will thank you after 30 days. And if food is fuel, then movement is how you send that fuel throughout the brain. So, could you take a few steps with me now? Gentle movement, because the brain loves steady footsteps. You don't need to run or hit the gym. A 15-minute evening walk, or some light stretches after lunch are enough to boost brain circulation. Older adults who move less often experience blood pooling in the brain, slowing memory and reflexes. So just stepping outside, walking around the house, watering plants, stretching to the sky and taking deep breaths is already saving your brain from sluggishness. Don't think of movement as something for the young. The brain ages faster when we sit too long. And finally, there's one thing you don't need to buy, don't need to learn, but it's the best medicine for memory: genuine conversation. Talk every day. Memories live longer when spoken aloud. A study found that older adults who talk regularly retain memory up to 30% better than those who live in isolation. Because when we share a story, the brain does many tasks at once: recall, word choice, delivery, listening to responses. It's the ultimate full workout for the brain. So talk every day with your children, your neighbors, even with yourself. Tell an old story. Call someone just to check in. Laugh about something from 1985. The longest-lasting memories are the ones retold with love. 5 small habits, but if you stick with them each day, they may preserve a lifetime of memories. But if you're wondering, have I missed out too long? Is it too late now? One phone call, one breakfast, one question can change everything. We've just gone through 5 small habits to help preserve memory each day. But sometimes, beyond medicine, what saves a brain is a hand held, a watchful glance, a question that seems very ordinary: what did you have for breakfast this morning, Mom? Ms. Evelyn, 74, lives alone in Pasadena. Last week, her son John called like he always does. But this time, he asked, "Mom, What did you have for breakfast today? Evelyn laughed. Let me think. Did I eat anything yet? John didn't laugh. Because he knew his mother always ate on time. She even loved bragging about her oatmeal and sliced bananas. But today, she couldn't remember. Just one question, seemingly casual, helped John take his mother to the doctor early. Evelyn was diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment, and the doctor said, if you'd come 6 months later, we might not have been able to save much. One phone call. One breakfast. One question. Sometimes. That's the greatest gift we can give our loved ones. Elsewhere in Texas, Mr. Charles, an 82-year-old veteran, often repeated the same story. Back in '69, I almost missed the train home to see my wife because I fell asleep at the base. He told it like it was the first time. Every time he met someone, he'd begin with that story. Most family members were used to it, so they'd just smile and nod. But his granddaughter, little Emily, just 12 years old, didn't do that. She asked him tiny details, like she had never heard it before. What shirt were you wearing that day? Was it raining, Grandpa? Would Grandma be mad if you missed the train? Thanks to those innocent questions, a neurologist, during a routine checkup, discovered early signs of repetitive speech, one of the first indicators of Alzheimer's. And because his granddaughter didn't interrupt him, he got to keep his memory for many more years. If you have a loved one over 60, don't wait until they fall, get lost, or forget their own name. Ask them something simple today. Call them. Send a message. Sit down at the table and let them tell an old story, even if it repeats. Because each story told is a thread that ties them back to this world. And if you can, take them to a memory checkup. At many community centers in the U.S., screenings like the MOCA or MMSC are offered for free. You don't need a prescription, just a caring heart. A small appointment today can preserve an entire family tomorrow. Because memory isn't just a function. It's the bridge between you and the one you love. If memories begin to fade, then love must become clearer than ever. There may come a day when the person you love looks at you and hesitantly calls you by the wrong name. Perhaps the apple pie she always baked each fall now feels unfamiliar in her very own kitchen. Maybe this year's birthday wish exists only in a text message, because he's forgotten what today is. And when that moment comes, if it comes, you'll understand, memory isn't just a brain function. It's the place where hugs are stored, where the words "my child" echo, where simple holidays live, and every second you once thought was just ordinary. Memory is the silent bridge that connects us to the ones we love. And when that bridge begins to shake, it's us, the ones still standing strong, who must strengthen it. No miracle needed. Just enough care to ask. Enough patience to sit and listen. And enough love to start acting today. You don't have to wait until something is lost. You only need to start preserving while you still can. If you live with your parents or grandparents, ask them something tonight. If you're caring for an elderly loved one, give them time to retell an old story, even if you've heard it 10 times. And if you've ever feared forgetting, then this is your moment to remember you are not alone. Thank you for listening. If this video touched your heart, please share it with someone you love. Leave a comment below if you've ever experienced something similar. And don't forget to hit like, follow Thrive 60+, because here we walk with you through every step of preserving memory, health, and meaning in the golden years. Thrive 60+, where aging is never forgotten, where memories are honored, and where you are always heard.